So for our final, we decided to focus on three main topics that we thought would be really important and that we would actually carry on to our future relationships in the real world. So the first one was the Myers-Briggs, the second one was vision and values and how it creates the creative tension, and the last one would be how to receive and give feedback.
So I remember, besides what we learned in class, there was a reading we talked about type watching, the 8 preferences of people. Instead of name calling people based on your differences, you use those to really help you respect each other. And for me personally, that was really kind of enlightening because I always thought like someone who was shy is someone like not particularly shy, but it was like a view as a bad thing, and or they were just too lazy to like care or participate in whatever activity they were doing. So to kind of learn about that, it makes me realize that it's more of a trait rather than I don't know, like something that someone choose to be.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole point about type watching is like really being aware that the other people have different qualities and different ways of seeing and perceiving things. And when we like learning about it and being able to like actually pay attention to how people are different from us makes us learn how to work with them better. And I think that's something that we both will actually carry on in the future by really looking at how other people's are different. So one thing that I am going to carry on, like that we carried, it was actually analyzing our compatibility report and being able to see what some of the areas that we were similar and we were also differentiated as well. In parts, we actually complemented each other in our differences, but at the same time, there were certain things that we're both sometimes can be both extroverts and we both can be the sensing as well.
Yeah.
So I think it was like kind of seeing that we have to pay attention to and adopt strategies that are going to improve and being able to pay attention to other people's that who we might be working on for a project and how to incorporate their perspectives into it as well. So yeah,
that was really hard. Like I mean, for me, like it was kind of not shocking, but like surprising to see that compatibility report because I assumed that a lot of the struggles that we would have would be within us, which would be easier for us to kind of overcome. But then if we're dealing with like a bunch of strangers we're working with, that's kind of hard to see how they view us.
Yes.
And the whole compatibility part was talking about that because we're both extroverts. It makes us harder to listen to other people, but we can't really tell because they're.
And we're also in terms of like we do both like structure.
Yeah, we're both.
So some people that we might be working with, we might lack in viewing their own perspectives in their own ways. Yeah, so that's something that we'll both work on. We are able to adopt it through our project this semester, but we will also be able to carry it on in our future partnerships as well.
Yeah. So flexibility was something we both really learned.
Yes, being flexible and being able to go like pick it up as we go and being able to just not freak out about the little details.
Yeah.
Right? So our second topic was the vision and values and the creative tension. And so do you want to talk about some of the things that you found really successful?
So there was a quote from the reading that really stood out to me when it talked about shared vision and structural tension. And it was most purpose statements inspire the 5 or 10 people who sit around them, but they do nothing for the 5,000 other people in the corporation. And that really tied back to us as leaders because we were both extroverts. So we feel that it's something that could actually relate to how we would run something. We would inspire someone very close to us, but it would be hard to get everyone on the same boat as us because of the fact that we're both very outgoing to the fact where it will be kind of hard for introverts to kind of interact with us. So in that, it's very important to build like a shared meaning, a collective sense of what's very important, and to have a very shared personal vision with everyone else in the company. And basically, by doing that, we can motivate each other to achieve that same shared vision. And another thing was personal mastery. That was something that we learned as well in the reading, and that helps explain your path to create attention. So you have reality and something you want to strive for and a vision. So personal mastery teaches us to not like lower vision, but instead it makes us want to reach it, even if it seems impossible. So it makes it more realistic in a sense. This low attention or string whatever, but it also teaches us to not shrink back from seeing the world as it is, but even if it makes us really uncomfortable about the current reality we're in. And it teaches us to choose and pick the results and the actions that we want to fulfill our own destiny.
Yeah, of course. So the next thing I would like, we found out how, like in terms of the exercise that we had in terms of sharing a vision, when we both were able to sit down and look at some of the things that we really wanted to focus on in our lives. Shirley had a vision. She envisioned a world that people are encouraged to reach their fullest potential without fear or being hindered. And me, on the other hand, I'm focused on also achieving the fullest, helping people achieve their fullest potential, but being able to control their decisions and experience happiness from within. And if you look at both of our visions, like we both shared the want to explore the idea of helping people reach their fullest potential. And that kind of goes hand in hand with our vision for our project, was that we really wanted to through our personal visions, like we both shared the concept in which we wanted to help people reach their fullest potentials. And this pertains to our main goal of the project by making sure that people are still following their career paths through their majors, making sure they're going to classes, but also exploring their individuality and making sure they are still seeing themselves as unique, exploring their hobbies and different things that they could get involved with. And as we looked at our core values, we actually did, when we picked from all of the 60 or 70 we had, we actually came up with two that we both really matched, and one was this responsibility and accountability, and the second was personal development. Mm-hmm. The third one we actually differed. Shirley had one that was Independence. And I chose family values. And as we went on through the semester, we really did notice that while we shared very personal stories and personal situations that we've been through, I learned that we're both very, very similar to each other in more ways than we expected, because even though she said independence, her need for independence was to be able to support your family, and in seeing how you see yourself as a way of like carrying it out and making sure your family will be okay in the future. And you sacrifice so much for just your family, and that's exactly what I do as well. And that's why I put my family values, because sometimes I do put myself in a second place. And we both notice that these values are the things that really bring us together and make us really strive through our projects, because we do have similar values. We do have that creative tension that's being created because we see where we want to be and where we want our product to be, and we're both pulling ourselves and our current reality towards our vision.
Yeah. And it was actually really that you mentioned it, now that you mentioned it, that one of your core values wasn't independence, because it was always something that I felt like you were always, like, I felt like it really defined you, like independence, because of how you really like presented yourself. And I thought that was really like cool. But then it wasn't one of your core values, so so that makes it like really genuine. Like I kind of respected that a lot more, because it was something that just naturally happened, that it showed through without you actually trying to achieve exactly it. So, but yeah, that was really cool. And so it's kind of like the core values like that, where you don't intentionally share. I think that's like the best part. Because we both chose what values we want, but then to see that like you actually shared something where someone didn't like out loud share it out, I think that was even better to have to find out without them telling you. So
yeah, perfect.
Then it went on to another reading where it really just taught us so now we know what the shared vision is, or how to grasp that. Like, how do you become an effective leader using that shared vision? So that concept was taught in the Cousins and Posner's The Leadership Challenge reading, and it really stressed the importance of, in order to enlist others, we have to appeal to the common ideals and animate the vision. So that was something that me and Bruna were both kind of struggling to work on for our current project. I think we did a great job in like to appeal to the common ideals, and then I think animating the vision we also ended up like successfully doing as well. So that was something that was a great tool that we were able to use from that particular reading. Um, I think, yeah, so we did a great job with that. I think the thing we just had to continue working on was,
Following through.
yeah,
Following through and just pretty much making sure that we had all the details, just making sure that we followed through the whole process. Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with all of that. So the last topic that we want to talk about is giving and getting feedback. So
I think, yeah, so when we were talking about it, I was mainly the one that just had like so many struggles with it. And
so I actually thought about it as like, okay, let's look at what it actually was meant for and the reason that we did that exercise. And it was one of the things that I remember talking in class that really brought my attention was that being able to identify it as a person, it's a person's behavior, is not their character. So addressing it and we're like really owning up to your feelings and how that person's made you feel that certain way is being like in addressing it in that manner is can be really difficult as well. But I think I always thought that it was really important, especially in like when you're gonna have that relationship with that person for a long period of time. And that's when Shirley kind of started talking about her struggles.
Yeah.
So
for one, I think what really scares me is so I have these relationships that's been going on for a really long time, and we've never confronted each other about anything serious. So what really scares me is what if what I'm trying to tell them comes out in the wrong way? Like, even though I followed the outline that was given in class, but what if I just somehow say it and then they think that in order for this relationship to continue, they have to change themselves or kind of create this awkward feeling that wasn't there before. And then what if it just changes the whole relationship together? So, like, what if after I do this, the whole relationship just kind of vanishes, or not vanish, but like just it's not the same as before? And I still feel that. Like, even after the discussion we had in class and everything, I still feel that. Like, it's really hard to it's hard to overcome it. So
yeah, and I agree. I completely agree. I think that that's like the thing that most people really deal with is that if you have a passive personality that you have problems that you see that are present, but you keep them in and you bottle them up and you're like, oh, it's going to pass. It's going to be gone. It's like, it's not going to be a big deal anymore. It's like just a little thing. That's a lot of people do that. And I know I did that myself as well. And that's why when I went to participate in the class, like I was like, wow, I really haven't addressed this problem. But I think like through that class, it really made me realize that there's a lot of people that felt the same way because we did have so many pushback. And when, like, I don't remember who mentioned it, that, like, society doesn't teach us how to... So, like, she mentioned how society doesn't really teach us how to actually receive or give feedback. So this is something that's present in everybody's lives and that a lot of people are not able to do it and they need to practice. And it does take practice to get it perfect. So looking at that and seeing how society does not really teach us how to receive or give feedback, I think that through that class, we both learned that there's a format that we can follow, but it's also, it really just depends on the level of the friendship and the level of comfort, how comfortable you feel addressing that problem. And I think even though you might not feel comfortable addressing those problems in your relationships, I think that it's still really powerful to do so, and try to always try to address those problems, because if you bottle it up, it can make it the relationship even more awkward. So it's kind of like a counter, I guess, to what your argument was in terms of like making it awkward in the beginning. If you were to address it, it can make it more awkward if you don't address it. And yeah, so the other thing that I would say would be I plan to use this layout in the future, and I don't think we've had that problem. I think we've been really straight up and talking to each other. We've never had to really address it in like a feedback manner in this format.
But it's definitely a good tool to use from now. Something I need to start doing when I create friendships in the future.
And not just friendships, but even professional
relationships. Like any type of relationship is really good for me to keep that in mind for the next time. Like I know I'm dwelling on the past. Like I can't. It's like for me, I personally feel like it's probably a little too late to address the stuff that I want to give feedback on in the past. But for sure, like now that I know this, like it's. Like, it can no longer be an excuse for me personally.
Because you've learned how to.
Yeah, and now that I'm tackling it early, I don't have to worry about changing what relationship we had, since relationship will be fresh by then.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's even, like, even if you were to have friendship, like, relationships with other people that had problems, I think even if you address it now, it wouldn't be an issue too much. But it's also, like, I think it would help your relationship with that specific person at that moment, and it can only improve, you know. So yeah, those are just 3 different topics we wanted to talk about that we've like really found very valuable in this class. I think me and you will both carry it a long way, and I'm really glad we took this class together.
I'm glad too.
Yay! We're done. Okay. Bye, guys. Happy summer.